Good day, class. So, in this lesson, we're going to focus on finding the volume of a solid revolution using the shell method or cylindrical method. So, let's begin by drawing the picture. Okay, so now we're going to find the volume when rotated about the y-axis. So, ang gagawin ko dito ay magdodraw ako ng rectangle. And then the limit of integration is going to be from A to B. So yung radius natin, yan yung distance between the rectangle and then the axis of rotation. So ang axis of rotation natin dito ay itong y-axis. Okay, so by the way, you should always draw the rectangle parallel to the axis of rotation. So in this case, you want it to be parallel to the y-axis. So as you can see, yung rectangle natin ay parallel dito sa axis of rotation, which is the y-axis. And then, so that's the radius, and then this is the height of the shell or the rectangle. So using the shell method, the equation is this. The volume is equal to 2 pi integration from A to B of the radius multiplied to the height dx. So the radius, as you can see, is in terms of x. So if you want to find the volume of the solid one rotated about the y-axis, the radius and the height should be in terms of x. So if the rectangle or the shell will be rotated, this will look like that. So nandyan yung mga shells or rectangle natin. So it will look like a cylindrical. So nandito kanina yung radius natin. Ito yung radius natin mula dito sa y-axis hanggang dun sa dito sa rectangle na dreno natin kanina. And then this is the height. Okay, so now sometimes you may have two curves as opposed to one. So let's call the top curve or the top function f of x and the bottom as g of x. So we want to rotate. We want to rotate it about the y-axis. So the rectangle is going to be parallel to the y-axis because this y-axis is our axis of rotation. So laging tatandaan that it should be parallel to the rectangle. Okay, so now the radius is still the distance between the rectangle and the axis of rotation. And this is going to be the height of the shell. The only difference in this situation is that the height is basically equal to the top function minus the bottom function. So that's h of x, or the height, is equal to f of x, the top function, minus the bottom function. So everything else were the same. So the limits of integration will still be a to b. They will be represented by x values. Okay, so it will look something like this. So nandyan yung radius natin. Okay, so this will be the cylindrical. Kapag nirotate natin ito about the y-axis, so para siyang magiging cylindrical in shape. Okay, so now sometimes you may need to find the volume when rotated about the x-axis. Pag ganito naman yung rotation, magro-rotate naman yung graph natin dito sa x-axis. So let's use the same type of picture. Okay? So yan, yung rotation natin about the x-axis. So now so we're going to rotate the region about the x-axis instead of the y-axis. So now we're going to draw the rectangle parallel to the axis of rotation, that is parallel to the x-axis. So itong x-axis ngayon yung axis of rotation natin. So i-draw natin yung rectangle parallel to the x-axis. The radius is the distance between the rectangle and the axis of rotation. So mula dito sa rectangle hanggang dito sa x-axis yung kanyang radius. And then the height is parallel to the to the axis of rotation. So this is the height of the rectangle. So the volume is going to be 2 pi integration from, this time it will be c to d. It's going to be the y values. So the formula is volume is equal to 2 pi integration from c to d of r of y h multiplied to h of y dy. So keep this in mind that if you want to rotate the curve about the x-axis, the radius and the height has to be in terms of y for this to work. Okay, so kapag nirotate natin yan, this will look like this one. Okay, so yan yung cylindrical shell naman natin. Rotating about the y-axis. Ibig sabihin dito siya umikot. Okay, so now let's see if we have two functions f and g. F of x and g of x. So let's say the function at the right, ito, the function at the right is f of x and the function on the left is g of x. So we're going to rotate it about the x-axis. So let's draw the rectangle parallel to the x-axis. So this is going to be the radius still. And here we have the height. So the height is going to be the function on the right minus the function on the left, g of x. So h of x or height of x is equal to the function on the right, f of x, minus function on the left, g of x. So it will look something like this when we rotate it about the x-axis. Okay, so let's start with the first example. So let's say that we have the curve y is equal to square root of x, and the line bounded by that curve, the line y is equal to 0 and x is equal to 4. We're going to rotate about the y-axis. So let's begin by drawing the picture. So this is the square root of x and it's going to stop at x is equal to 4. So let's draw a rectangle and we're going to rotate it about the y-axis. So this is the radius and this is the height. So notice that the radius is the same as x. Thus, we could say that r is equal to x. X is the distance between the y-axis and the rectangle. So notice that the height is the same as y. So we could say that h is equal to y. Now, if we're rotating it about the y-axis or about any line parallel to y-axis, the radius and the height has to be in terms of x. Okay, so now the radius is already in terms of x. Ito yun, r of x. We just have to convert y into something in terms of x. Okay, so now we know that y is equal to square root of x. So we can replace y with square root of x. So y is equal to square root of x, and then h is equal to y. So we could write this one as h is equal to y. If h is equal to y, then h is equal to square root of x. Okay, so now we have h is equal to square root of x. Both the radius and the height were already in terms of x. Okay, so now let's use the formula. Volume is equal to 2 pi integration from a to b of r of x, h of x dx. Okay, so ang a natin ay 0 kasi nandito siya. Ang a natin ay 0 at ang b natin ay nandito sa 4. So we're going to integrate it from 0 to 4. Okay, so let's apply the formula. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi integration from 0 to 4 of x. Okay, so remember that our radius is x. And then, ang height natin ay square root of x. X multiplied to square root of x dx. Okay, so volume is equal to 2 pi integration of naulit. So we know that we can convert square root of x into its equivalent expression with fractional exponent. So square root of x is equivalent to x raised to 1/2. Next, we're going to multiply x and x raised to 1/2. Since they have the same basis, the exponent of x is 1, then we can add their exponents. So 1 plus 1/2 is equal to 3/2. So we will end up with this one. Volume is equal to 2 pi integrated from 0 to 4 x raised to 3/2 dx. Okay, so we can apply the power rule in integrating x raised to 3/2. So the power rule is applied to this one. So we're just going to add 1 on the exponent. So instead of writing it 1, ginawa natin siyang 2 over 2 so that magiging parehas ng denominator itong 3/2. So x raised to 3/2 plus 2 over 2 divided by the new exponent. So 3/2 plus 2 over 2 is 5/2. So nilagay ko na dyan na 5/2. Simplifying further, we have volume is equal to 2 pi multiplied to x raised to 5 over 2. So 3/2 plus 2 over 2 is 5 over 2. So instead of dividing 5 over 2, minultiply natin yung reciprocal ng 5 over 2 which is 2 over 5. And then volume is equal to 2 pi. So 2 times x raised to 5/2 is 2x raised to 5/2 divided by 5. Okay, so pwede na natin siyang i-evaluate from 0 to 4. So i-evaluate natin itong 2x raised to 5/2 over 5 from 0 to 4. So now, if we plug in 4 dito, so that will become 2 times 4 raised to 5/2 divided by 5 minus 2. Evaluate naman natin or i-plug in natin yung 0 or yung a natin. So 2 times 0 raised to 5 over 2 divided by 5. So volume is equal to 2 pi times. So ang ginawa natin dito, i-convert natin itong 4 raised to 5/2 into radical expression. So yung 2 dito sa denominator ay kanyang index at itong 5 ay naging exponent. So we will end up having 2 times the square root of 4 raised to 5 divided by 5. So ito naman it will result to 0 kasi 2 times 0 raised to 5/2 is already 0. So 0 divided by 5 is 0. Naulit. Okay, so volume is equal to 2 pi. So this is 2 times square root of 4 raised to 5. So 4 raised to 5 is equal to 1024. And then the square root of 1024 is 32. Kaya 32 itong nandito. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi times 2 times 32 divided by 5. So if we multiply 2 times 32, we will have 64. So we have 2 pi. 2 pi times 64 is 128 pi over 5. So the volume of the cylindrical solid or of the solid revolution is 128 pi over 5. So this will be the answer. Okay, so let's have our example number 2. So let's say y is equal to x minus x cubed and the region is bounded by the curve, the line y is equal to 0, and it's from x is equal to 0 to x is equal to 1, and we're gonna rotate this region about the y-axis. Okay, so now what we can do is to find the x-intercepts for this graph. So kukunin natin yung x-intercept nitong y is equal to x minus x cubed. Okay, so let's set y is equal to 0. So ito yung ginagamit nating equation, y is equal to x minus x cubed. So isi-set ngayon natin yung y into 0. So that is 0 is equal to x. And then ang ginawa natin ay finactor out natin yung common factor nitong x minus x cubed, which is x. So inilabas natin yung x. And then we have the binomial factor 1 minus x squared. So x times 1 is x. And then x times negative x squared is negative x cubes. So we have 0 is equal to x times the quantity 1 minus x squared. And then, so we can factor out itong 1 minus, we can factor 1 minus x squared since this is a difference of two squares. So yung 1 ay perfect square, yung x squared is also a perfect square. So we can factor that by using the sum and difference of two terms. So ang factors ng 1 minus x squared ay 1 plus x at 1 minus x. And then, factor isi-set natin into 0 itong x, itong 1 plus x at 1 minus x. So obviously, x is equal to 0. And then, kapag 1 plus x is equal to 0, transform or i-transpose natin yung 1 on the left side, magiging negative 1. So we have x is equal to negative 1. And then ito namang other factor, 1 minus x, it will result to x is equal to 1. So the intercepts are x is equal to 0, x is equal to negative 1, and x is equal to 1. So it turns out that if you graph this function and focusing only on the right side of the y-axis, this graph is going to look something like this, where this is 0 and this is 1. So we're going to rotate it about the y-axis. And so let's draw a rectangle which is parallel to the axis of rotation, which is the y-axis. So this is going to be the radius. And here we have the height. So just like before, the radius is the same as x. And the height is the same as y. So r of x, r is equal to x and h is equal to y. So but we need the height and radius to be in terms of x. So yung radius natin is already in terms of x, pero yung height is still in terms of y. So let's replace y with x minus x cubed. Since the height is equal to y and y is equal to x minus x cubed, so we can have h, or the height, is equal to x minus x cubed. Okay, so both the radius and the height were already in terms of x. So now we can write the integral. So ang a natin ay 0 at ang b natin ay 1. So the volume is equal to 2 pi integrated from 0 to 1 x times x minus x cubed dx. So ang ginawa natin dito ay dinistribute natin itong x. So we have x times x is x squared minus x times x cubed is x to the fourth. And then we apply the power rule. So kapag in-apply natin yung power rule dito sa x square, we will have x cubed over 3 minus, and then dito naman sa x to the fourth, applying the power rule, we have x to the fifth over 5 evaluated from 0 to 1. Huwag natin kakalimutan yung 2 pi. Okay, so if we plug in 1, we have 1 cube over 3 minus 1 fifth over 5. Minus, if we plug in 0, we have 0 cube over 3 minus 0 raised to the fifth over 5. So this whole thing will be equal to 0. Okay, so 1 cube is 1. So we have here 1/3. 1 to the fifth is 1 over 5. Minus 0 multiplied to 2 pi. So we have, so ito na lang yung natira, 1/3 minus 1/5. So kinuha lang natin yung common denominator which is 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Minus, okay, so 15 divided by 5 is 3. Times 1 is 3. So we have 5 minus 3 over 15 multiplied to 2 pi. So we have 5 minus 3 is 2. So we have 2 over 15 times 2 pi. And then for the final answer, we have 2 pi times 2 is 4 pi divided by 15. So this will be the volume of the solid when rotated about the y-axis. Okay, so let's have our example number 3. So use the method of cylindrical shells to find the volume of the solid formed by revolving the region bounded by the graphs of y is equal to x and y is equal to x squared in the first quadrant about the y-axis. So, okay, so draw muna natin yung picture. Sabi dyan, we have the region bounded by the graphs of y is equal to x. So ito yung graph ng y is equal to x, and then ito naman yung right portion ng graph ng y is equal to x squared. So ang gagawin natin ay, so this will be 0 and until 1. Okay, so we will rotate this about the y-axis. So itong y-axis, yan yung axis of rotation natin. Okay, so we draw a cylindrical shell there. So notice that the region has an upper boundary or upper function which is y is equal to x, and then a lower boundary which is y is equal to x squared, and then it runs from 0, x is equal to 0 hanggang dito sa x is equal to 1. So here we have drawn a sample triangle or rectangle that generates a cylindrical shell. Okay, so ito yung radius natin mula dito sa rectangle hanggang dito sa axis of rotation which is the y-axis. Okay, so radius is equal to x, and then ito naman yung height natin. Ang height ay equal to x minus x squared. Okay, so it will look something like this one. Kapag nirotate natin ito dito sa y-axis. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi. the integral from a to b of r of x, h of x dx. So the limits of integration will be from 0 to 1. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi integrated from 0 to 1 of x minus x squared dx. Volume is equal to 2 pi, the integral of x squared minus x cubed dx from 0 to 1. So ang ginawa natin dito, we distributed the x. So x times x is x squared, and x times x squared is x cubed. So we can now get the antiderivatives of x squared and x cubed by using the power rule. So if we apply power rule, x squared, the antiderivative of this one will be x cubed over 3, and then this one x cubed, ang antiderivative niya ay x to the fourth over 4 evaluated from 0 to 1. At huwag kakalimutan i-multiply yung 2 pi. Okay, so when we plug in 1, we have y cubed, 1 cubed over 3 minus 1 to the fourth over 4. And then if we plug in 0, we have 0 cubed over 3 minus 0 to the fourth over 4. So this will become, volume is equal to 2 pi. So this whole thing will be 0. And then ito ay magiging 1/3 over 3, 1/3 minus 1/4. So ang ginawa lang natin dito, we get the least common denominator. The LCD between 3 and 4 is 12. So we have 12 divided by 3, that's 4 times 1 is 4, minus 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. 3 times 1 is 3. So we have 2 pi times 4 minus 3 over 12. So 4 minus 3 is 1. So we have 1 over 12 here. So we have 2 pi times 1 is 2 pi over 12. And then we reduce it to lowest terms. We have pi over 6. And this will be the volume of this cylinder. Okay, for example number 4, find the volume of the solid formed by revolving the region bounded by the graph of y is equal to 4 minus x squared and the x-axis about the line x is equal to 3. Okay, so una natin gagawin dito ay i-draw muna yung picture. So we want to find the graph of this equation, y is equal to 4 minus x squared. So we have here a table of values. Ang x values natin range from negative 2 up to positive 2. So if we have x is equal to negative 2, so when we substitute it in this equation, we have y is equal to 4 minus negative 2 squared. So when we square negative 2, that will be 4. So it will become 4 minus 4, and then the value of y will become 0. Next, if we have x is equal to 0, when we substitute 0 in this one, we have 0 squared. So the y value will be equal to 4. So we have 0 and 4. And then if we substitute the value of x as 2, we have 2 square, that is 4. So it still be 4 minus 4, y will be equal to 0. So the graph of y is equal to 4 minus x squared will be negative 2. So negative 2 and 0, ibig sabihin nandyan yung kanyang point. And then by the way, yung symbol or yung sign ng leading coefficient or leading coefficient ng leading term natin ay negative. So that means that the graph of this equation will face downward. So yung first point natin ay negative 2 and 0. That means that it's x-intercept. So nandyan yung kanyang point. The second point will be at 0, 4. So yan naman yung kanyang y-intercept. And then another x-intercept will be 2 and 0. So ibig sabihin, the graph of that will look like this one. Okay, so and then ang sabi dyan, the axis of rotation will be at the x-axis about the line x is equal to 3. So nandyan yung x is equal to 3 natin. So ibig sabihin dyan siya iikot. So, yan yung cylindrical shell natin. Okay, nag-draw tayo ng sample rectangle that generates a cylindrical shell. Okay, so, this will be the radius. So notice that the radius of the cylindrical shell is the distance from the line x is equal to 3. So ang ginawa natin dito, since this is x is equal to 3, so we transposed x on the right side, kaya naging negative x. So radius now is equal to 3 minus x. And this will be the height of the rectangle or the shell. The height is equal to 4 minus x squared. Okay, so yung axis of rotation natin ay nandito sa line na x is equal to 3. So it will look something like this one. Okay, so nandyan yung radius natin mula dito sa line sa tapat ng x is equal to 3 hanggang dun sa dreno nating cylindrical shell. At ito naman yung kanyang height. Okay, so we can now use the formula volume is equal to 2 pi integrated from a to b of r of x times h of x dx. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi integrated from ang a natin ay negative 2 at ang b natin ay positive 2. So integrated from negative 2 up to positive 2, ang r of x natin or radius ay 3 minus x. And then, ang height natin ay 4 minus x squared dx. So, ang ginawa natin dito, we multiply 3 minus x and 4 minus x. So, using FOIL method, kapag pinag-multiply natin tong dalawang to, we will have x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12 dx. So, we will get the antiderivatives of this one and then evaluate them from negative 2 up to positive 2. Okay, so we have volume is equal to 2 pi integrated the integral of x cubed from negative 2 up to positive 2. And then dito naman inilabas muna natin yung constant na 3 multiplied to the integral of x squared from negative 2 up to positive 2. Same as this one, nilabas ulit natin yung constant na positive 4, constant na 4, and then kinuha natin yung integral ng x from negative 2 up to positive 2 plus the integral of 12 from negative 2 up to positive 2 dx. So we will get the antiderivative of this individually. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi times, so kapag itong x cube, the antiderivative of this one is x to the 4th over 4. And then ito namang x square, the antiderivative is x cube over 3. Minultiply natin yung 3 doon, so we have 3x cube over 3. So we can cancel 3 and 3 para x cube na lang yung matira. Next, so dito naman sa x, of course, ang antiderivative niya ay x squared over 2. Minultiply lang din natin yung constant na 4. So we have 4x squared over 2, or pwede natin i-divide yung 4 and 2 para 2x squared na lang ang matira. And then dito naman ang integral ng 12 ay 12x, the constant times the variable of integration, evaluated from negative 2 up to positive 2. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi. If we plug in positive 2, yung b natin, we have plug in natin dito sa part na to. So we have 2 to the 4th over 4 minus 3 times the quantity 2 cubed over 3 minus 4 times 2 squared over 2 plus 12 times 2 minus, kapag plinag in natin yung negative 2, so palitan lang natin ng negative 2 yung mga x dyan. So simplify natin. So 2 raised to 4 is 16. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Minus 2 cubed is 8. 2 cube is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Minus 2 square is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Divided by 2 is 8. Plus 12 times 2 is 24. Minus, dito naman tayo. So, negative 2 raised to 4 is still 16. Divided by 4 is 4. Negative 2 times 3. Negative 2 raised to 3 is negative 8. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. Negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. And then, minus yung nandito. So, negative of negative 8. Kaya, positive 8 yung nandito. Minus 4 times negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Divided by 2 is 8. Plus 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. So we have volume is equal to 2 pi. 4 minus 8 plus 24 is positive 12. Minus 4 plus 8 minus 24 is negative 20. So we have 2 pi times, this will become positive. Negative of negative 20 is positive 20. So we have 2 pi times 32. And then the final answer will be 64 pi. For the assessment task, you have 3 items, 3 problems to solve. So you sketch the region, draw in a typical shell, identify the radius and height, and compute the volume.